wormholes, particle physics, extra dimensions. Are the wonders of so-called reality really what they appear to be? Or do we exist in an elaborate hologram? Is our universe the result of random activity or the result of intelligent design? If a creator was involved, can we discover him through our perception of divine order? This is Into the Multiverse with Josh Peck.
Kick the universes and light the multiverses. It's Into the Multiverse. I am your host, Josh Peck. I have to give credit where credit is due. Derek Gilbert once again has inspired another genius opener. So special thanks to Derek Gilbert for that. I'm in studio today with my lovely, beautiful wife, Christina Peck. How are you doing?
Good. I'm good. I'm here.
Yes, you are, as am I. And that's what we're going to talk about today. It's just how present we are.
We're here in this place.
And you're also there.
If you're there and I'm here,
then that means so ridiculous.
So 80s.
Well, today we got a fascinating topic. We're going to be talking about the top 5 quantum technologies in use today and where they might lead prophetically. Before we get into that, though, if this is your first time joining us into the multiverse, welcome. We are happy to have you. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. And Christina, where can they find us on? What's all of our online stuff?
All the things.
All the things. Say all the things.
The first one is youtube.com/into the multiverse. Then you can go to skywatchtv.com and then you can scroll down. You can see the banner there of Into the Multiverse with Josh Peck. And you can click on it and that leads you right to the YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And just for fun. And there's also, you can catch us on Roku on the Skywatch TV channel.
Yes. So make sure you do that. All important stuff. And it is a weekly show. So if you want access to all past episodes plus the new ones done every week, subscribe. Man, we really push that subscribe thing a lot, but it's important. So top 5 weirdest quantum technologies in use today. Yeah. And now not all of these are fully developed. Some of them are just right on the beginning.
In the works.
Yeah, they're in the works, beginning stages. But, you know, we've talked about before, why do we even talk about that? You know, why is it even important? Well, because this is where the world is headed. The more they learn, you know, the scientists, physicists, the more they learn about the quantum world, the more they have been able to utilize it. We can even think of something as simple as electricity. The reason it's called that is because it's electrons, you know. But just from an understanding of electrons, look what we've been able to do.
Light.
It's
that thing.
There's this.
And there's also that.
They did this because of quantum. And that's our show. No. Okay. It's a whole show, but it's mind blowing, and so thinking about where this is headed, I think is an important discussion. I think one of the biggest reasons that people don't want to touch this stuff is the idea that, well, you got to be a genius to understand this. You know, it's not available for the layman.
Yeah,
but that's actually not true.
No, it's not at all.
Now, scientists will have you believe that.
Oh, yeah.
You know? But essentially, what it really boils down to, they speak a different language. You know,
that's right.
It's kind of easy to just say they use big words. You know, that is what it is.
Same in the medical field too. Like pneumo, whatever. Pneumo means lung, and then you just go. Itis is inflammation of.
Yeah.
I remember that from my classes. Yeah. But they just use. It's just a different language.
That's really what it is. So if you have somebody, if you can decipher that language, or to have somebody who has already done, and that's what I'm trying to do. You know, that's what my books are about. Trying to take just quantum reality and the understanding of it and bringing it to the Christian. And why it applies. But that is where the world is headed. I think that a lot of the things prophetically that are described, it's based on some of these quantum realities, even like the image of the beast. I know our good friend Gon Shimura has done a whole video on that, Age of Deceit 2, I believe.
Yep.
Phenomenal stuff, but that's where the world is headed. I mean, unless there's some kind of worldwide EMP, something that knocks us back into the Stone Age, there's just no getting around it. So it's a good idea for us to get a grasp on it now, get at least a basic understanding of it now, so we can be prepared for what's ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Now we're going to be talking about like the top 5 weirdest quantum technologies.
And there's more than 5. But
but we're just doing the top 5.
Yeah, these are just the top 5.
These are our top fave.
Yeah. We can start with quantum computing. That's something that people have probably heard, really cool. At least heard the term quantum computing before. And what it is, it's regular computing on steroids. It uses this weird anomaly called quantum entanglement. Basically what quantum entanglement, and to really break quantum entanglement down, we could dedicate a whole episode to it, but just the more truncated version, it's this phenomenon where a particle, say a photon or whatever, is able to communicate with another photon at instantaneous speeds. Like no time between the communication. Yep. They know what they could be at opposite ends of the universe.
They're reading each other's minds, if you will.
Essentially. Mm-hmm. But it's faster than light. It seems to go against the
laws of physics there.
How could this be? You could have a photon on one end of the observable universe and another one on the other end, and it's still instantaneous speeds that they're able to communicate. Yeah. So what some scientists are trying to do is use that for computers. Yeah. And, on the surface, it would seem like, well, that would be cool. It'd be cool to not have to wait for all this. I do a lot of video editing. Yes. And it would be nice to not have to wait for rendering times and, all of that.
Well, yeah, we've talked about this a couple other times briefly, but we sat in for Derek and Sharon when they were away for Sci Friday
when
episode.
We first got here,
and, and they did there was something, we looked at the Li-Fi article and how it was under certain lights. Mm-hmm. It would be
transmit information through
so almost instantaneously, as close as you can get. Yeah. And they're trying to perfect it even more, so it's like instantaneous. I remember when DSL was like the new thing. Because it's like
I remember when dial-up was the
the
internet was the new thing.
The internet was the new thing, and then we had dial-up. Okay, that was the thing, and then we went to the DSL, which is I don't have to be connected to my phone company. What is this? I don't have to have dial-up, and if somebody's ringing in, then I could get kicked off my internet, and this won't happen. Oh, and it was so fast,
and that's already outdated. And that wasn't even that long ago.
No, I know, it's ridiculous. And now they want to use crystals because it's a good conductor. For quantum computing. It's one of the more pure forms of communication.
They want to use like quasi crystals, which I don't fully. But I guess you can do different things, or it's easier to work with, or something. It's more efficient. That's the word I'm looking for. Because regular electrons and electricity, they give off energy, and that's why your computer gets hot. After it runs for a while, it's giving off energy, so it's not as efficient. But using things like quasi crystals and things other than electrons,
it's supposed to help with that.
Yeah, like even photons. Because photons, that's an elementary particle. But with the photon, it doesn't break down into anything. So you could have, if you had a photonic device, instead of an electronic device, it would run way more efficiently, because where is the energy going to go? It doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't decay into anything. Right. So they're looking at that. But I do believe that quantum computing is going to be the new thing, like the next big thing. That now I don't know if it's going to be only like a military deal and it's not going to be available to the consumer for a long time, or I don't know how all that's going to work out. But what I do know is look at what we've been able to do just as the human race. Look what we've been able to do with the technology we have now, with the computing power that we have now. That computing power is so puny compared to what would be available from quantum computing. So it's kind of a scary thought, and it's so mysterious anyway. They don't know the full extent of what they're going to be able to achieve with this.
I know.
So that it's. Again, and just like with all these, a whole show could be dedicated to just that. But we should move on to the next one. What do we got next? Parallel universe detection.
Yep.
This is something that CERN, right on their website, has said that is a goal of theirs. They want to detect and measure extra dimensions.
Yep.
Which, again, on the surface, that sounds kind of cool. It's like, well, it would validate all of my work. I mean, that would be, I already have the Bible to do all that anyway, but that would kind of be cool. But
yeah, I know what can be.
When we think about what's actually there in those extra
you don't
dimensions.
Want to. I know, because there's been some articles that they want to communicate with extra dimensional beings, and they want to open that to communicate with these things. They're acknowledging that there are these beings there.
Yeah.
And that's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
I don't want to be anywhere near that.
No. Well, what the idea is that they can use, and this kind of ties in with another one of these, but they want to use gravitons to be able to do this. And since that just recently they detected gravity waves, they're one step closer to being able to actually manipulate gravitons. Gravitons naturally can traverse dimensions.
Yeah.
That's just how they are.
Yeah.
So they want to use those to be able to measure these extra dimensions and try to understand them a little better. Which, again, on the surface, kind of cool. But again,
do you really want to mess with that?
Exactly.
That's like, playing with fire or a Ouija board in a sense.
Yeah, it could open up all sorts of problems.
That's a problem.
That's something that we should keep an eye on. We will get to the next three. After this, Skywatch TV has some really cool information for you, so stay tuned.
Finally, a book that helps you make sense of the hard-to-understand parts of the Bible. Skywatch TV is proud to offer The Unseen Realm by ancient language and Bible scholar Dr. Michael S. Heiser. He takes you into the world of the men who wrote the Bible under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, and by understanding their worldview, you will better understand some of the weird parts of the Bible. Like, why was it so important to mention giants in the Old Testament? And why did Peter and Jude reference the angels who created them in the New Testament? The supernatural war between God and the fallen angels is real. The Unseen Realm helps you understand the way the apostles and prophets saw that war. And when you order The Unseen Realm from Skywatch TV, we will add these two books free. The Supernatural Worldview by Chris Putnam and G.H. Pember's classic Earth's Earliest Ages. Order The Unseen Realm now by calling the number on your screen or log on to skywatchtvstore.com.
Welcome back to Into the Multiverse. We're talking about the top 5 weirdest quantum technologies that's in use today, at least in the first stages. We talked about quantum computing. We talked a little bit about parallel universe detection. Now, this one, I did a whole video on this, on not on the Into the Multiverse YouTube channel, but on my YouTube channel, Quantum Alchemy.
Yeah.
And actually, we mentioned Gans Shimura. He actually inspired this because, again, his Age of Deceit 2 dealt with alchemy. And I thought, once I did a lot of research to understand how the LHC, the Large Hadron Collider at CERN, actually works, it is, in a sense, alchemy. It's quantum alchemy.
You're taking two things to make another thing, a new thing.
Yeah, it's all based around quantum field theory. We're going to have to do a series on quantum field theory at some point because there's so much to it. But to try to explain it in just a couple minutes, basically what it is all of reality is made up of fields. And really a field is basically just a set of values. Like if we think of the electromagnetic field, if I have a magnet in my hand, the values of that magnetic field are going to be higher towards the magnet, and they're going to be lower farther away from it.
Right.
So a field is all around us at all times, but that's basically what quantum field theory is, it says that when there's a spike in the field, that's what the particle is.
Yeah.
Usually when we think of a spike, we think of like on a graph and there's like a spike.
Yeah.
That's just a two-dimensional representation of it, though. Imagine that in 3 dimensions. It spikes from all over.
Yep.
It's like a sphere. So that's
Yep.
why particles are spheres, in a sense. So a spike in a field is a particle. An energy spike in a field is a particle. Excuse me. So that is essentially what the LHC at CERN utilizes is quantum field theory. Well, when you think about it, the LHC collides protons together, and they can create something like a Higgs boson. Now, how is that possible? The pieces of the Higgs boson aren't in the protons. If you take a proton and a Higgs boson, they're completely different particles.
Yeah.
They don't really have much in common with one another. But through that energy explosion, what's actually happening is when those two particles collide at near the speed of light, it sends ripples into these other fields. And so these other fields vibrate, creates energy spikes, and so you get an energy spikes in the Higgs field, and you get a Higgs boson. So in a sense, you're taking a proton and making it into something else. You're taking one substance and
just like in alchemy of metals and things like that,
turning iron into gold, and
Yeah.
So in a sense, it is quantum alchemy, and they're doing that. Okay, next one. Where are we at?
Quantum AI.
Artificial intelligence.
Yep.
This actually ties in with quantum field theory. Scientists and physicists have been wondering for a long time. I mean, ever since people thought to even question, what is consciousness?
Oh, yeah. We talked about this briefly.
Yeah, we did a show, Quantum Consciousness. Yeah, and I think that was the same one that we talked about, dreams and quantum consciousness.
Yes.
Yeah. But essentially, there's still no really good scientific theory as to what consciousness is, because how do you test something like that? How do you reproduce it in a lab? Well, there is a theory that consciousness might be an interaction with the field, kind of like how our mass is an interaction with the Higgs field.
Right.
Consciousness might be interaction with what's hypothetically called the cortical field. Now, quantum field theory says that every field has an associated particle. So, the Higgs field has a Higgs boson. The electromagnetic field has the photon. Every field has an associated particle. So, if you have a hypothetical field, the cortical field, you have to have a hypothetical particle. Mm-hmm. Corticons. That's what they call them. So the idea is, if that is what consciousness is, and there's no way to really test it, nobody knows. It's just an idea right now, and actually, it's not at all a respected idea in scientific circles. Usually, if anybody is promoting that, they're laughed out of the room.
Right.
But just because there's no good testing, or there's no data to,
not a good explanation for any of it.
Yeah, but if that is what consciousness is. Mm-hmm. They'd be able to create consciousness by manipulating that field. Again, you could use something like CERN or some particle collider, and if you add enough energy into that field, you're going to get corticons. Mm-hmm. Well, if that's what consciousness is, and that brings up the question. Might that be the way they end up really developing artificial intelligence?
Like a true AI?
Yeah, Now there is artificial intelligence out there now.
Yeah, there is. Look at our computers.
But they run into problems, like they upload it to Twitter and it becomes racist, and they have to take it down.
The bots that they have on these different things. Yep.
So it's right now it kind of seems clunky, and there's issues, and then there's better. Well, it did. It's exactly what happened.
What was it thinking? I just love it.
It said that Bush did 9/11. So. It was kind of funny, but so there's issues with it. Now imagine, a lot of money is put into those projects.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Imagine if all you had to do, though, instead of hiring a bunch of programmers to write all this code and try to figure all this out, and it's such a big headache, and you got to have all this processing power in these computers. And imagine if all you had to do was collide some particles and utilize corticons to create an artificial intelligence. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if the cortical field is even a real thing, but if it is, oh, you got to know that the governments are going to jump on that. It's
Oh
cost
my gosh,
efficient.
yes.
It's simpler. It's way more effective.
Oh, yeah.
It's easier to be controlled. But imagine what that would mean for us. If they can manipulate consciousness, what if they want to manipulate somebody else's consciousness?
Right.
What if they want to implant another consciousness into somebody? And would that be a true created consciousness, or would it just be some demon?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Or some fallen angel posing as artificial.
Yeah, exactly. I think that opens a lot of doors there.
It really does. We do have one more. What's the last
one on the list is gravitation, communication, development.
Yes. Now this kind of ties all these together in a way. We watched a documentary a few years ago on. It might have been on CERN, or it was something quantum physics related, and it was really well done. They put it in terms a layman could understand, so we loved it. But there was this odd part in it. About half an hour into it, popular physicist Brian Greene was talking, and he said. He was explaining string theory and gravitons, how gravitons can traverse dimensions. And he said something along the lines of, now imagine if physicists are able to manipulate gravitons and send them into a higher dimension as a type of binary. You just affect the spin, and you have a string of gravitons, and you affect the spin, and you have a binary code, basically. Send that into a higher dimension and set up a detector and see if anything comes back. And he said, but believe it or not, physicists are working on this today. And that was years ago.
Crazy.
I know, and that was years ago. And then, just for the cherry on top, in the documentary, it actually showed this little graphic of a gray alien picking up a phone and talking to Brian Greene, and it's trying to be all cute and funny. But imagine that. I mean, that was a few years ago that they were saying physicists are working on this today. We know that they've detected gravity waves. We don't know how far they've developed that. I mean, they had discovered the Higgs boson months before they released information about it. So we don't know what level, but that might tie into Revelation 9.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That connection with the CERN and the abyss.
It might be, and I know this is controversial, and there's different ways of thinking about it. Tom Horn and I are actually working on a book now around this idea of CERN, and part of it, actually the last chapter, is the possibility of it opening the abyss, but it goes into areas that have never been talked about before. But the basic idea is, if they do send some type of binary thing to try to communicate, who are they going to be communicating with?
Yeah.
Maybe those horrible demonic, things from Revelation 9, those scorpion, Apollyon, the angel that's over them, and that gets into a whole area that we don't have time to really delve into, but it's important to talk about this stuff.
It really is. You don't have to be super smart to look into this.
I'm a college dropout. I did one semester of Christian college, and that was enough for me.
I went to school for business, so.
Yeah, I mean, but it's only to prove the point that the world is going to tell you have to be a genius. Leave it to the professionals. You don't even bother trying to understand it because it's way over your head. It's not true. It's a lie. Anybody, I've had 15-year-olds email me and say that they love my books and they can understand them just fine. I've had 80-year-olds write me with the same thing, that they like my books, they can understand it, and it's helped. It doesn't mean that I'm anybody can do this kind of research.
It's true, right? I studied physics and some rocket science and things like that.
Well, you're the one that got me into this in the first place.
But it doesn't make me a genius.
Right.
I just wanted to study it because I found it interesting.
Right.
I would have loved to gotten a degree in physics.
Oh,
but
yeah, same here.
It just didn't happen.
Yeah, same here. But again, it doesn't mean to demean this type of work or ministry or anything like that. That's not, and we're not trying to do that. We're just saying that you don't have to be afraid of these topics.
Right.
And actually, I put together a couple of books that I think really will help, and even based on testimonies that I've received from people who've read these, that can really help put these things in terms that just about anybody's going to be able to understand. The first book is Quantum Creation. This takes basically everything quantum, the basics of quantum physics, and applies it into a biblical framework. It's written by a Christian for Christians. You'll be able to understand it just fine. And then also cherubim chariots. This talks more about who's inhabiting these extra dimensions. What do we need to know about them, and what might our future hold in lieu of all these quantum discoveries and things. Actually, both of these together, you can go to skywatchtvstore.com, and right now there's a special. You can get them for $29.95, which is honestly a better deal than I'm able to offer myself on my own website, because I'm selling these for $19.99. So you'll definitely want to go to skywatchtvstore.com, get these 2 books for the special price $29.95, and get a head start on this stuff, because I really believe this is where the world.
It's headed that way.
It's where the world is headed, and we're going to be in a place where we're going to have to answer tough questions that we might not know how.
Yes.
We didn't have a chance to get into it in this episode too much, but we talked about it in a previous episode. Rainbow gravity theory it's a theory that's some physicists are trying to develop now, and it is kind of confusing. There's things about it I don't understand, but the main takeaway from it is if they prove it, they're going to say this means the universe is infinitely old, which absolutely takes out the possibility of a creator. And so there might come a day, and I believe that this is possible. There are physicists working on this now. There might come a day where we find on the news, it's just been released, it's been discovered. Rainbow gravity theory is actually true and proven in the lab. If they're able to do it, we're going to be faced with having to answer that. Science is saying the universe is infinitely old. How does God fit into that? Now, our knee-jerk reaction would probably say, well, the science is all bunk and it's just all garbage. But I don't think that's a good approach, because in that scenario, there's going to be data to show that they've been able to create these black holes at this certain energy level. There's going to be real scientific. So to use that as an answer, now we're putting the other person in a place where they have to either accept God or accept science, and there's no way to have both. And that's not
true.
Not a place that we want to put people in.
Science and the Bible go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Quantum physics and the Bible go hand in hand.
Yeah.
God created the laws of physics. He created the laws of all the laws of science, and that's how he created things. He created those laws. He used those laws.
Exactly. So if we get a jump on this stuff now, then we'll understand, well, there's a difference between observation and interpretation. And a lot of times when scientists say that this thing is proven and it shows this, a lot of that is interpretation. Not all of it is observation.
Right.
Observation is what you can clearly demonstrate and show in the lab and all that. Interpretation is the meaning that a scientist will put on it.
Exactly.
I heard a physicist say there's no afterlife because quantum field theory shows that there's no place for the information to go. That's an interpretation.
That's his interpretation,
Now,
and that's his opinion.
Yeah, there's actual science. That doesn't mean we throw quantum field theory out.
No, it's there.
That's
it's
an actual
thing.
science. It's an actual, there's evidence. But the interpretation of there's no afterlife, we don't have to make that our interpretation.
No.
So there's a difference there. I get into that in my books. I think it's important for people to know. We are out of time. Where can people find us online?
YouTube.com/Into the Multiverse or skywatchtv.com, and it shows some information about our show there, and there's a picture there of Josh and I. You can click on that. It takes you straight to the YouTube channel. Or you can check us out on Roku under the Skywatch channel.
Absolutely. And if you have any questions or comments, suggestions for shows, email me at jpeck@skywatchtv.com. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us into the Multiverse again. Until next time, take care and God bless.